cash to put in an ATM each day for 30 days. And you don't want too much and you don't want too little. And these are the 30 amounts that you can put into the bank for 30 days. So this is $7,200, $9,800, $7,400 because these are in hundreds of dollars. The first thing I'm going to do is construct a relative frequency histogram using 8 classes. So I'm going to look at this. I need my max, which is 104, and I need my min, which is 61, and I subtract those two numbers and I divide by 8 because I'm looking for 8 classes. And when I divide that, I get 5.375, and if you remember with class width, you round up to the next integer, so it's going to round up to 6. So when I'm working with this, I'm going to make my 8 classes. 61 plus 6 would give you 67. 67 plus 6 is 73. 73 plus 6 is 79, and so on. Then I just look at my numbers and I make tallies. For 72, I mark it here. 98, I mark it here. 74, I mark it here. So I tally up everything to see how many numbers are in each class. And here's what I found out. My frequencies are 1, 3, 6, 10, 5, 2, 2, and 1. And of course that adds up to the 30, which is your total. Now to get relative frequency, I take each one of my frequencies and divide it by the total. So 1 divided by 30 gave me 0.03333. These two came out evenly. Notice I held 4 decimal places when it did not come out evenly. And these came out with 6's on the end, and I just rounded the last one to 7. But you need to hold those places because your other answers won't come out right if you don't. Now, what I did was I made the histogram. Relative frequency goes on the y-axis, and I let these climb in increments of 5. And of course they're all going to be decimals because relative frequency is a decimal. It's always a percentage, but it's written in decimal form. And these are the amounts in hundreds of dollars. So these are the midpoints. If you'll look at this, the midpoint of this class, if you add 61 and 66 and divide by 2, you get 63.5. Add these two, divide by 2, you get 69.5. So these are all midpoints in this graph. Now, let me erase this real quick because I had recorded it once and had to redo it, and I want you to be able to see what I'm talking about here. So, what I do is I'm asking that question B, if I want to spend $9,000, if I want to put $9,000 each day, now who has that kind of money? I don't know. But what percent of the days in a month? 100 is 8750. 93.5 is 9350. So $9,000 would be right in this area. So when you get to these last 3 bars, you've already used all of your money. So I go back up to those relative frequencies and I see what those are, and there's the relative frequencies. I add those 3 relative frequencies together and you get 0.166667. Well, you want to move this decimal to make that a percentage, and you round that off to 16.7%. So 16.7% of the days. The last question asks you about 10% of the days. And if you are willing to run out of money in the last 10% of the days, where's 10%? Well, if I add the last 2 classes, these two, you'll get exactly 10%. This represents the last 2 classes, so you back up to the previous class, which is this one, 91 to 96. And it tops out at $9,600, so you would be maxed out at 10% at $9,600.